A very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice. Thank you for joining me. It's midday, Saturday. The sun is shining. Once I've done this video, I'm out for the rest of the day. Going to see my daughter. Nice treat for me with her dog. Yeah, instead of cats today, it's all about dogs. Anyway, thank you for joining. And I'm sure you've already heard the stories that the breaking story today and surprise story in a way is that we're in for Douglas Luiz of, player that was formerly at Aston Villa. It's interesting because, let me talk about it. But before I do, if you're new to the channel or if you've watched me before, my apologies if you've heard this many times before. If you're new or new to the channel or you've watched before and yet to become a subscriber, please do subscribe. All the content is free. And if you enjoy the show, please do hit the like button as well. So, Douglas Luiz was first moved to an English club when he was just 19 years of age, when Manchester City bought him from Brazilian club Vasco da Gama for a fee of around £10 million. Now, Luiz didn't actually get any senior game time during his time at Manchester City. Instead, for the first couple of seasons, he was sent out on loan to Spanish club Girona in order to get experience and game time. Now, during his time there, during his 2 seasons there, he made a total of 46 appearances for the Spanish club. But unfortunately, that loan deal didn't really go well. Didn't score any goals, didn't assist in any goals either. However, he did pick up 11 yellow cards. Now, I don't mean anything by that just because he's Brazilian. Please don't misunderstand me. Anyway, on his return to Manchester City, they decided to immediately cash in on the player and they sold him to Aston Villa in 2019 for a fee of about £14 million. Now, this is where the Brazilian midfielder really came into his own. Again, proving that just because you sign for a big club, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be successful. Sometimes players going to a big club doesn't always do it for their careers. Whereas going to Aston Villa, this is where he really shone. In his time at Villa, he made 204 appearances in total, scoring 22 goals with 24 assists. Last summer, because of PSR rules, and Villa are going to have to go through this again this summer, last summer, because of PSR rules, Aston Villa reluctantly had to sell the players and they agreed on a fee of £48 million to go to Juventus. However, the move for Douglas Luiz and for the Italian club, again, hasn't quite worked out. Luiz, throughout last season, missed 20 games. And in the games that he did appear in, he didn't score a goal and, again, didn't assist in any either. Now, the 20 games he missed, he suffered injuries of muscle fatigue and hamstring injuries. Now, in fairness to Luiz, it wasn't a great season for him in terms of injuries, but on the whole, as a player throughout his career, he's had a relatively clean bill of health. The last time he picked up any kind of injury similar to what he had was back in 2021. So it's been a while. Now, all in all, the 27-year-old midfielder has got a relatively clean bill of health throughout his career. However, Juventus general manager Damian Camoli wants to restructure the Turin club's midfield, and there's talk about Juventus being happy to negotiate a deal where Luiz leaves the club this summer. Now, look, there are several Premier League clubs interested in him, with apparent strong interest from the likes of Man United, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, to name a few. So can West Ham steal a march on any of these other clubs? Well, look, Luiz doesn't really fit in with the type of player profile that we've been led to understand Potter wants at the club. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not in ability. I don't mean in ability, but in terms of age. So far, we've been primarily linked to an awful lot of players, especially in central midfield, of around about the age of 22, 23, 24, and so on. But with age comes experience, and Luiz certainly knows his way around the Premier League, which can only be considered a massive advantage, especially for West Ham, who suffered in central midfield last season. And in all honesty, There's no harm in bringing in an experienced player in that particular area. It's a role that other players, especially if we bring in younger players in other positions, it's a role that other players will be able to look up to. So I'm not totally against Luiz in terms of his age. Look, the story broke that Juve are happy to listen to a loan deal with an obligation to buy. Now, the loan offer would be quite hefty in the region of around £8 million, about 10 million euros, with an obligation of between 22 to 27 million pounds. That's roughly 25 to 30 million euros. Now, this kind of deal would absolutely help West Ham enormously, given our continuous crying that we're short of money. Look, we've got 55 million from getting the Kudus deal done. Now, if we take 8 million from that, it will still allow us sufficient funds to go out and get ourselves a couple of other signings with that money, such as Malik Diouf from Slavia Prague, plus one other player. Now, of course, we're in need of far more than just 2 or 3 players, that's for sure. But there are signs that we will soon be selling a few more of our players in order to generate more funds. I know it's not the way we should be doing our business, but that's the way it is at this moment in time. Now, the vital thing now is that if we can get 2, 3 players over the line within the next few days, such as Luiz, such as Malik Diouf, and one other, then that will go a long way to rebuilding this squad that Graham Potter needs to succeed next season. So will Luiz be a smart move? Now, the one thing we know is that Potter couldn't fit Mohamed Kudus into his starting lineup. As has been said, Potter regards Bowen a much better player out on the right, and I get that, and I agree with it. Bowen creates goals, scores goals, and does more than his fair share of defensive cover, and is a consistent player all round. We saw last season how inconsistent Mohamed Kudus was. Potter also did not regard Kudus as a good enough number 10. And many fans said much the same thing. Now, ironically, I did say, let's try him in the centre, and the few times that Potter did, it just didn't work out. He keeps his head down. He doesn't look up to pass when that could be the easiest and probably the best option for the team. Instead, he would want to do it all himself, much to the frustration of his teammates and much to the frustration of fans. Whereas Douglas Luiz is the total opposite in terms of being a team player. It's funny, isn't it? A bit ironic that Kudus, in his first interview for Tottenham Hotspur, said that he's a team player. And I'm sure every West Ham fan must have fallen over laughing at that comment. But anyway, let's not be bitter and let's look forward. Because someone like Luiz coming in, if we do get this deal done, we would be getting a total team player. And the 24 assists during his time at Aston Villa really demonstrates that. We have all seen his ability, great ball position, great range of passing, great at corners, great at dead ball situations. Maybe you can teach James Ward-Prowse how to finally beat that record and get that off David Beckham. He can play in a number of different positions in central midfield, a deep-lying creative role, like an anchor, not a defensive midfielder, but like an anchor, as well as a more advanced midfielder role as well. He fits a possession-based system that we all know Graham Potter wants to adopt at the club. But at the same time, Potter needs players that are creative and full of flair, and Luiz fits all those categories. The only thing lacking, I guess, is maybe pace. We're crying out for faster central midfielders, so Luiz may not necessarily offer that. But with Bowen and Wan-Bissaka down one side, with Malik Diouf and Somerville down the other side, Luiz is a sort of player who can unlock defences with his passing range to set these types of players up. Now, I won't lie. I made a comment on Twitter earlier on Saturday morning that I was worried about Luiz's fitness levels, especially last season. But as others have replied, Douglas Luiz is a leader on the pitch, someone who can take the game by the scruff of the neck, which is what we really need, someone with steel in the heart of our midfield. Would it be a replacement for Paqueta? Possibly, but more so a replacement for the departed Kudus. So let's hope this one comes off. I'm kind of excited by it. Getting an experienced midfielder and the caliber of Douglas Luiz can only bode well for West Ham. Right, a quick word. I mean, I know I did an update yesterday on various stories, but a quick word on the inquiry we made for Club Brugge midfielder Ardon Jashari. Now, it was confirmed by Romano that it was indeed West Ham who had made an inquiry about the young dynamic midfielder. But Jashari's focus is only on AC Milan. Now, there was a story on social media which suggests that our procrastination led to us missing out on the player, but I don't buy that. The player himself has suggested or has said that AC Milan are the only club for him, much like Kudus, who said Spurs was the only club for him. So in that case, there's not much that can be done in that situation. Look, let's really hope our transfer business finally takes off. The senior squad has gone off to Germany on Saturday as part of their pre-season training. And wouldn't it be nice to actually get a couple of new faces over to Germany early next week? I think that would be a massive boost for everybody at West Ham United. Thank you for watching and listening. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of other stories to bring you up to date on. And once they come out, I'll bring them to you. But in the meantime, like I said, if you've enjoyed the show, please do hit the like button. Have a great weekend. Get out there in the sun and enjoy it. And I will see you all very, very soon.